Hey, family, welcome back to One on One with Cut Next 50. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Today, man, we're going to cover Roland Martin Unfiltered Digital Daily Show with guess who? Kamala Harris. He finally got an interview, and this will be my real first review of Roland Martin. Like I said before, I didn't know anything about him. I had a couple of requests for doing a review on Roland Martin. So we're going to go ahead and give you what you want. I'm going to see what this interview entails. See if he's going to hit her with the hard questions. Is he going to be biased? What is he going to, how he's going to conduct his interviewing style with Kamala Harris? With that being said, hey, tune in. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Go ahead and cover that music up so we won't get no copyright strikes. Like I said, we appreciate y'all support on here. I don't know too much about Roland, but we're going to go ahead and watch this video and we're going to see this together.
I'm trying.
Let's get right to it. Right before I walked out there, someone posted a clip, and usually this, the clip, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do anything specifically for African Americans. But folk don't talk about what you said right before when you said that public policy that benefits Black folks and it benefits everybody else.
Right.
Even we look at historically the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, it actually didn't just impact the African Americans, it impacted everyone else. But talk about that because so many people have only clipped that one part without understanding the public policy implications.
That's bad. I'm sorry to hear that. Right. So you know that, I mean, going back even before, but Dr. King was very clear, right? If you have certain policies that recognize, one, that not everybody starts out on the same base. If you have public policy, and I'm talking about economic public policy specifically at this point, but if you have public policy that recognizes historical barriers and what we need to do then to overcome, first speak truth about them and then overcome them, that in the process of doing that, not only are you directly dealing with the injustices and the legal and procedural barriers that have been focused on Black folks, but by eliminating those barriers, everyone actually benefits, right? And
now, I don't know if it's you or it's just if it's just me or what. When somebody asks a question, why can't we just answer the question directly? Yes, they altered my video. They didn't say the right part. I do have specific policies for African American people for whatever the case may be. Why can't we do it? I don't know if it's me just looking at it a different lens or, but to you, did she answer that question directly? Besides going on a long spiel, because generally when people go on the long conversation, they explain and whatever else, you forget what you even asked them in the begin with. But I mean, with her, I get what she's going to, so I'm not going to judge her for that. But I do see what she's talking about, the Civil Rights Act, Dr. King, everything else. But let's go ahead and continue.
That to be true. So my policies include what I know is going to have a profound impact on Black folks around economic policy, but everyone will benefit from them. I intend to create as president what I have named an opportunity economy that taps into the ambitions and the aspirations and the dreams of the American people, and then addresses those in a way that recognizes, unlike my opponent who was handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, not everyone has access to those kinds of resources, but when you give people access to those resources, they thrive and we all benefit. Opportunity economy. That's why I say I'm going to make sure that we give first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance. Because again, we know that when you look at the history of how Black folks have been denied the opportunity for home ownership, be it redlining or what we know it's still been happening around a bias in home appraisals, that it is a barrier to achieving intergenerational success. But when we address it by doing things like helping folks get their foot in the door with a down payment assistance, they will have the ability to be on that track of intergenerational wealth building. My plan for extending and expanding the child tax credit.
Now, I'll be interested in actually seeing that policy and that plan, but I already know that, and this from many presidents from years ago. I remember when I first was looking to get my back house, my first house, and this was way back early 2000s, man, maybe 2005, 6. They always had first time homeowners programs. low interest rate assistance, everything else, and that's either Democrat or Republican. That's always kind of been in play for first time home buyers. I don't know how your state is. If you know anything about it, make sure you comment below. Let me know what you think about the programs that she's mentioning now. I just haven't seen no specific plans yet or programs for it. I generally don't like I said, I don't do politics. I don't like people talking about this and that, but when they get in the house, they didn't do anything. Now, like I say, it's the same administration. So say if she wins and she's saying all these claims, are we going to actually hold her accountable for not doing the things that you said? We didn't hold Biden accountable. We don't hold people accountable for saying they're going to do something and they actually don't do it. But let's go ahead and continue. Share your thoughts. Let me know what you think.
$6,000 for the first year of a child's life, because our parents, just like any parent, have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources to do that. So $6,000 in the first year of your child's life helps you buy that car seat or crib or the clothes that are necessary to build the foundation for that important phase of their development that gets them on the right track. I
do want to do the housing piece, because what I think is not being talked about, the building of new housing stock.
Yes.
And so because of the home foreclosure crisis, we literally built under 9 or 10 million homes in 2010, 2020. We're underbuilt now as well. The fewest homes being built since the 1940s.
Yes.
So a huge part of this problem with housing is that we don't have the stock. So talk about that piece there, because you got demand, but you don't actually have right now the available homes.
So, and I'm glad you actually presented the point the way you did, because let's also go back to what you know in my history on this in terms of being an attorney.
Well, with the homes, we don't have the homes because if you look through the pandemic, so many people end up losing their jobs, their homes foreclosing. I mean, look at the interest rate that's on homes now. During the pandemic, when Trump was in office, they actually made the interest rates lower so you could sell your homes, you can refinance all the other stuff. But after, when the Biden administration got into office, just my perception. I mean, you can see it for yourself. Just let me share your experience when it came to that. If you had a home, did you buy it? The interest rate on your house and everything else. What changed from the economy when they shifted presidents? Like I said, I believe the powers that be, they're going to do whatever they want to. The president is just a head figure for the organization. I put it like that. One is better than the other. One is all the way to the left. One is to the right. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't involve helping us too much. I put it like that. But I mean, I just look at the groceries, man, the inflation rate, and they blame it on the pandemic, but it has nothing to do with it because everything is back open. The ports is open. They say they raised it because it was hard to get supplies from overseas, but we supposed to be bringing business to the U.S. So you telling me we couldn't get the wood and everything else from the U.S. to build these homes and everything else, but the housing market shot through the roof? I mean, it don't make sense to me, but that's just my perception. I mean, when I start a small business, you get more perks. If you're doing business in the U.S., in your local state, you do get more business perks if you do it. So I think there's small business. I don't know about big business, but small businesses, you are incentivized to do business locally in your own state and transfer goods and services for U.S. citizens. That's just what it is.
When I took on the big banks, and because they were doing predatory lending, and a lot of the folks who were targeted with that predatory lending were Black folks who were being told, oh, you don't need to worry about it. We're going to give you this money. And so you can buy a home without actually doing the analysis to figure out if they'd be able to afford to pay it back, right? And folks trusted the banks that if you're going to loan me the money, then you must have determined I have the ability to actually, right, be able to see it through.
But predatory lending has always been the case.
For Black homeowners during that crisis.
53% of Black wealth wiped out.
That's exactly right, Roland. I took on and sued the big banks and ended up delivering $20 billion for the homeowners of California. The former president, Obama, recently mentioned the fact that I actually took on the Department of Justice and the administration saying, I'm not going to do a deal that brings crumbs to the table.
But not just when you're Attorney General, because even right now, the DOJ, Civil Rights Division, the redlining lawsuits, mortgage discrimination.
We have been taking all of it on. Mortgage discrimination, also discrimination in home appraisals. We've taken on the fact that, you know, those stories about a Black family is trying to get their home appraised. They want to get a second mortgage, they want to sell the house, whatever. And they bring in the appraiser. The appraiser looks around, looks at the family pictures, and appraises it for less than it's worth. The family knows that. They're not stupid.
The Black folks got to remove photos.
So then they remove photos and everything else, right? They remove all
the blackness.
All.
Now, I don't know if the appraisers ain't looking for pictures and everything. I just my appraiser. I done had 2 appraisers on my house, thinking about selling stuff like this, refinance, or whatever the case may be. I never seen anything about pictures or whatever else. They're looking for damage, seeing if you had extra work done to your house, seeing the cost of the other homes in your neighborhood. If you have a homeowner association, what kind of neighborhood, what kind of services is around the neighborhood, the land, everything else, businesses. They look for that when they appraise your house to the standard. They're not going to overappraise it if you got a house, say $450,000, and then you got another house next door, $200,000. That's not going to be the same kind of appraisal. It's going to generally be across the board, but it's not going to go overprice the area that you're in. But share your thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. If you are an appraiser or you know one, ask them same questions and see if they actually mark your house down based on color or gender or whatever the case may be, because of certain pictures, besides the aspects of what I just said when it comes to the geological area, the businesses around, home value of other homes in your same neighborhood. Just let us know and comment below.
Love that. And then they ask a white family that's a friend of theirs, come in, they put up their pictures, and the house gets appraised for more. Racial bias. We're taking that on for the first time. And I want to give due credit to former Secretary of HUD, Marcia Fudge, for being a leader.
Probably racial bias probably do exist, but how I doubt a president is going to be taking that on. I mean, oh man.
These are the things we've taken on. And as president, to your point about supply, I'm going to create tax incentives for home builders and developers to build 3 million new housing units by the end of my first term, because a big part of jacking up the prices has been the supply is not meeting demand, so the prices are higher. And when you couple that with $25,000 down payment assistance, we have the ability to give people the opportunity to achieve what generations before called the American dream, but which has been out of reach for too many people. My work around thinking about how it's going to directly impact Black folks is knowing that when you look at racial bias in home appraisals, when you look at the disproportionate rates of Black home ownership to other people having home ownership, it's too low. And it's not because we don't aspire to have a home or buy a home. My work is about looking at small businesses, knowing they're the backbone of our economy in the neighborhood, in communities, and giving folks an extension of a tax deduction. So it's not just $5,000 for a startup small business, but $50,000, because nobody can start up a small business on $5,000.
I'm glad you mentioned small business. I was talking to a Black restaurant owner in Houston, and we were talking about the corporate tax rate. Yeah. And one of the things that he said, listen, I'm looking at her proposal. I'm looking at what was the place beforehand. He said, because when it got cut, it puts $500,000 in my pocket. Yeah. When I was in Georgia, Senator Warnock's campaign in 2022, a Black woman said, hey, she said, I get reproductive rights. She said, I'm not having any kids, but I do care about taxes. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I'm hearing from a number of African-American business owners who are saying, okay, what will Vice President do if she's president deal with corporate tax rate? And so you talked about increasing it. Will that mean a certain cap? So let's say if you 50 million, 100 million revenue or less, will that go up, or will that corporate tax rate apply to all businesses?
So first of all, the corporate tax rate years ago was in the 30s. So I'm not doing that. But in terms of tax cuts for middle-class families, my agenda is all about tax cuts for middle-class families and no tax rate hike for anybody making less than $400,000 a year. But my approach is also about giving 100 million Americans a tax cut in terms of middle class tax cuts. Donald Trump, on the other hand, first of all, like he did before, he will do again and has pretty much pledged that he will give a tax cut for billionaires and the biggest corporations.
Now, when she go on this with the tax cuts and everything else, Valuetainment, I'm going to do a review on that video. He got Kamala's tax plan and say it's the most horrific tax plan he ever seen by any president. It don't matter what the Democrat, and I think I don't know if he was Democrat or Republican or whatever the case may be. But he did it. I'm gonna do a review on that video and the breakdown. It's gonna be a boring, but it is interesting if you're interested in tax breaks, tax cuts, her tax plan. And you actually go through the numbers and see that billionaires pay way more money on a percentage basis than we can ever pay. So, I get the theory they're saying they got to make them pay more. They're already paying more. They're paying more than we could ever put down. But how do you feel about it? If you were successful, you develop a business, helping other people out, do you want to actually keep paying more and more taxes and you doing a lot of good for other people? That's just a question with me. Do you deserve any kind of tax breaks? Yes, they do donations and everything else, but the money you outspend is going to be way more than any other people. I put it like that. Middle class, low class, whatever the classes is, a multimillionaire is going to always spend more money in taxes because they have more money to spend and they're going to get taxed because of businesses and everything else from the money that they do spend and waste. For whatever reason, they're always going to get taxed more in that aspect. But share your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you actually believe that she's going to make millionaires be taxed more? And stay tuned for that video of Valuetainment. It's going to be amazing, man. Like I say, I'm going to try to get through it the best way I can. I'm not going to play the whole video when I do the review on it because those numbers, I can't do numbers and numbers over and over and over. But he does hit all the hot topics, the hot points, and it's a great video. I watched most of it just to see, and I'm just waiting to just do that video.
Donald Trump has indicated that basically what I call a Trump sales tax will be in place, which is a 20% tax on everyday goods and services, which economists have estimated will cost the average American family $4,000 more a year. Goldman Sachs,
including the small businesses,
of course, yeah. Including small businesses. Not to mention what he is doing. If you look at Project 2025, what they're proposing in terms of cutting off, for example, we see Hurricane Helene, what we have seen happen in terms of Milton, cutting off the SBA ability to give small businesses that have experienced an extreme weather event, a disaster, giving them additional resources. This man don't want to help small businesses. He cares about the kinds of people who run the businesses he runs, big developers, billionaires. He's not looking out for middle-class folks. You look at what he is proposing in terms of cutting, if you look at the cost that middle-class families bear, healthcare costs. We have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Black folks are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes. Under Project 2025, they would undo that $35 cap.
Now, as a nutritionist, like I said, 13 plus years, man. Insulin is a hot topic for me. It's a button. It's a whatever you want to call it. Now, you capping medicine, you doing this and that. I appreciate it. We all love it. African Americans are the highest rate, I guess, like they say, in diabetes and all these other disorders. But if you look at the cause of illnesses, and like I say, I had the stats. I done did it all before. Malpractice, obesity, heart attacks, cardiac arrest, you name it. All these other disorders and stuff like that always take out the population in the U.S. because we eat the worst. We have the worst, I think, the worst food produced that's not really edible if you ever go in the grocery store, man. I did a video on that, and it goes down a whole different rabbit hole when you look at what's in our foods and what they allow, what they approve. And the reason I always ask myself is why? Because they don't want you to be healthy. They don't want you to not be sick. We're not eating the way we're supposed to eat. That's why I ended up switching going plant-based over 2.5 years ago. And I'm feeling better, less inflammation in my body. But that's my own personal journey from being a meat eater 40 plus years and actually loving it. I mean, I can't say that I didn't, but the foods is not created the same no more. I think the shift that I noticed maybe was the last 4 or 5 years, a shift in the food itself, how they make it, how it tastes. Even now in the sweets and the chocolate and the junk food, it's still a different. Maybe you experience it too, but share your thoughts. Let me know what you think about that. Is the food created the same from when you was growing up or from the last 4 or 5 years? Do you notice something different with the foods, the taste, the quality, the aftertaste, how you feel after you eating certain whatever types of food you got? Why can't we do something better for our own healthcare system when it comes to lowering the cost of these illnesses and stuff like that that American citizens face every day? I always ask the question, as a nutritionist, they make you get this health insurance. You got to have it, but you can't pick your own doctor. You're limited to the doctors that big pharma programs or whatever else. You can't pick like I'm into holistic health. I'm still getting ready to get certified as a holistic health nutritionist. I'm already a nutritionist and self-certified sports nutritionist, but trying to get onto a holistic side. How can I go see a holistic doctor? The insurance will not cover you. All that is out of pocket, and it does get expensive. So what can you do besides making your own herbs, spices, stuff like that, treating yourself? You're kind of forced to seek traditional medicine and believe that it actually works. But let's go ahead and continue.
What he is planning to do that is about getting rid of the Department of Education and Head Start programs. Who do you think that's going to affect? So
that's a different topic.
First of all, a danger in terms of understanding. There are two choices in this election and understanding what Donald Trump intends for middle-class families. Two, look at it in the context of how he actually thinks and talks about Black folks in America. And you and I have talked about this before. He is not looking out for folks when he was a landlord and would not rent to Black families, sued for it. When he took out a full-page ad in the New York Times against those 5 teenagers, Black and Latino, who were innocent, saying they should be executed, the Central Park 5. When you look at the first Black president of the United States, and he had birther lines, and now you look at Black immigrants, legal immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, and he gets on a debate stage and says they're eating their pets. Come on. This man is dangerous. Not to mention Roland. Let's fast forward to right now.
Now, that's one thing I dislike when people keep saying that Trump is dangerous. He need to be taken out. Because like I said before, mental health is a real thing out there. Before I left GBI, I used to get people coming in every day with different disorders. People watch them. They want to take them out. Aliens, you name all kind. You can only imagine the things that I dealt with every day for almost 5+ years. It's not the same. I mean, the thing people coming out for them, and some people, I don't even had people coming in there who was unstable and had weapons. So, I mean, you just never know. People saying stuff like this or insinuating it. People might think they're a patriot and they're actually doing the country a favor because of getting rid of this tyrant or somebody that's dangerous. So I just say we all got to be mindful, whether you don't like the guy or not. I know they're going against each other. It's a rival. You do whatever you got to do to win. But I never heard of good politics. Only thing you hear is dirty politics, and it's politics. You got to do whatever you got to do. But where's the place that you can just talk about your own self, the policies, the good you can do for the nation, the country, and leave out the other candidate and let people make their own decision? Like I said before, I'm not Democrat, not Republican. It's just sad that we only have these 2 candidates to choose from. Personally, myself, I like Vivek Ramaswamy. If you never seen that guy, man, he's cash married. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that I actually like him, because I never liked no politicians besides, I think, Al Gore back in the day before they stole their election or allegedly took their election from him when Florida changed to Democrat, and then they reversed it when Bush's brother was the governor and they went to Republican and he lost. But that's a whole different story. If you probably too young to remember that. Well, if you do remember that election, everybody's seen that was something that tells you that they're going to do whatever they want to do. But just go back if you can, look at that and see for yourself, man. Why don't we have an independent party anymore? Why don't we have just candidates? Like I said, like my guy Vivek, who stands on principles, who challenges both parties, Democrat and Republican. Why can't they get the back end to run? Because they won't be puppets, because they not going to play ball game. And we all know that big business funds everything. I mean, this is the system we live in. I think they was talking about Kamala was like, he's going to help big business and multimillionaires. The consumers are middle class people. So they're going to do whatever they can because they need our income. We're going to give them, we make them wealthy. We hold our income, or we ever came up with a united vote. Now we can hold these people accountable and actually make a change for them. But unity is not in the picture, and I don't think most of us are ready to unite for a common ground on different things because we disagree with small things. But let's go.
His staff won't let him do a 60 Minutes interview. Every president for the last half century has done one. Anyone who's running for president, everyone has done it except Donald Trump. He will not debate me again. I put out my medical records. He won't put out his medical records. And you have to ask, why is his staff doing that? And it may be because they think he's just not ready and unfit and unstable and should not have that level of transparency for the American people. There's a real choice in this election.
You mentioned the Department of Education. I was on a call a couple weeks ago. Jeffrey Canada, Steve Perry, Jalen Rose, and others who were supporters of school choice, parental choice. Yeah. And what they've complained about is that you haven't heard a lot about education in the last several months. They were talking about these educational outcomes of African Americans post-COVID.
Yeah.
And they said the numbers are depressing.
Yeah. It's bad.
In terms of your focus with education, one, do you support public charters? Do you support, how do we deal with those numbers? Because at the end of the day, if our kids are staying behind, that's just going to make it even more difficult for them.
For sure.
When it comes to getting jobs. That education plan for America, your president.
Yeah. So I have supported public charters, but here's the thing that we have to just.
Now, I got to give Roland, like I said before, I don't know too much about Roland. I wasn't a fan of him. I don't watch him. I don't listen to him, stuff like that. All his fans say he's a monster. He's a beast. He's one of the best reporters out there with what he does. So I guess this is Gene, but it just seems like it's catered more towards, I don't see and that's probably his style. He seems like pretty much almost like a nicer guy. I don't, like I said, just from this video, maybe he does get aggressive. He does eat them out alive, stuff like that. But it's maybe because he's the VP, you know what I mean? And the presidential candidate, he's handling himself a little bit lenient towards her. It's not like that Fox News interview, and they kind of went at her with all the tough questions. But I mean, he's asking good questions. I mean, I got to give him all the props in the world for that. He's asking good questions. He's making her think about it, but she is responding like she has a clue of what the itinerary was with the questions they was gonna have to ask, like they vetted her before. But I mean, it's stuff that people want to know. You want to know what it's gonna handle it. The education system. Y'all ever looked at the stats with the U.S. when it comes to education stats with the rest of the world and the other countries where we rank? You'll be shocked. But let's go ahead and continue. I give Roland. I mean, he's conducted a professional interview. He asking great questions so far. But let's see where it goes.
Focus on in this election. First of all, Donald Trump would get rid of the Department of Education, which means that as a vehicle for funding a lot of what we need to do around public education for our children, it would be get rid of Head Start. And we know how many of our children have benefited from that in the earliest stages of their development, which are the most critical to them being able to be successful as they go through the educational process. So there is a huge contrast between me and him. And frankly, I don't think he wants to talk about education, which is why it has not become an issue on the debate stage, because he doesn't have a plan, which takes me back to a fundamental point. He doesn't have a plan for much of anything that is about the people who are going to be watching this interview. I invite everyone always and again, watch his rallies. He will talk full time about himself. He will talk about his personal grievances, and he will not talk about you and any plan that he has for you or your children or your future.
How does it make you feel when he trashes black cities? So in 2020, he talked about voting in Fulton County, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Detroit. There was a partial recount of Wisconsin, only in Milwaukee. The comments that he just made about Detroit basically being a living hell.
Oakland, D.C., Chicago.
Pretty damn bad.
Come on.
No, I don't think Trump was trashing. I mean, well, share your thoughts. That maybe it's just me, but if he made these claims, it seems like it's the truth. Have you ever heard from the citizens in Chicago? All the deaths, and I mean, like I said before, I'm still in law enforcement. I'm still on that side, but I remember getting all the reports and the record death rates or shootouts that happened in Chicago. I mean, it's still bad out there. I mean, but they're not doing that. But that's one of the states they wanted to fund the police and stuff like that. I get it. We have a lot of bad cops out there, but it's a lot of great cops that you don't see the little things that go on day to day. You don't see the stuff that they're doing for other people, but we always see on the media the stuff that creates a divide, whether it's right, wrong, whatever, or indifferent. We always see the mass shootings. We always see the cop who could be in negligence acting above their means. Like I said before, I'm gonna have to do another story on what I feel was wrong with the law enforcement department right now. I remember when I first started, and they used to get 2 years training for you out there by yourself. Now, 3 months, probably not even 3 months. They train with a veteran officer, and then they put out there by themselves. They don't have the experience, expertise, or the know-how to handle real life situations when they occur. So, of course, what you do, fight or flight. You're going to use the best judgment you have with the little training that you had with defensive tactics, de-escalation class, handcuffing. I mean, whatever they took in their own previous experience, whether it's military, whether it's corrections, whether it's just school, from research and stuff like that. But the practical applications only comes with experience, with time. You have to be on the force for years to be able to, own yourself, so you won't flip out in a situation that you wouldn't used to. And of course, it's going to always be something you can never prepare for everything, but I think you can't erase experience. And that's what I think is wrong with the system right now. They don't have the time, and they don't have the money, resources, or funding, and you're short officers because we just don't pay them enough. That's just the bottom line. Everybody I look through in the U.S. that should be a necessities when it comes to teachers in our education system, when it comes to, like I said, the law enforcement and stuff like that, when it comes to even, I mean, it's a lot of fields out there that's underpaid and overworked and stressed out when it comes to even nurses, like in nursing homes, that the caregivers, the CNAs, they're not getting paid what you think they're able to get paid. And they're taken care of, or it's a necessity. You got to have them. You need this, firefighters, all your first responders. But if you don't pay people, you think they're going to stay in that field and they can go somewhere else and make money and be safer, or, don't have the criticism that they have. Just think about that. I mean, maybe people don't look at it from that lens. The only thing they look at it is from, you got paid, you got a job, good benefits, so just do it to the best of your abilities. But how can they do it if they don't have the training, the equipment, or the know-how to do it like a veteran with the experience? But let's go ahead and continue.
Pretty good damn ad y'all dropped out. I actually liked it. Jamel Hill and I talked about it. But again, he's singling out cities where there are significant African Americans, and that's who he's talking about.
Yes.
Black people.
Yes. Yes. There's this whole, I talked with somebody once who said, if you just look at where the stars are in the sky, don't look at them as just random things. If you just look at them as points, look at the constellation, what does it show you? So you just outlined it, Roland. What does it show you? That the cities that he picks on in terms of Black population or Black mayor are both. Come on.
We're in North Carolina, and this has been a battleground over voting rights. Federal judges 8 years ago said there was laser-like precision targeting African Americans.
Yes.
That is still a major issue. You got the Supreme Court with their decision regarding Section 2, Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah.
And so what if Congress doesn't move, what can you do to shore that up? Because that continues to be a major issue. And with so many African Americans now moving from northern locations of Midwest back to the South, we're seeing these problems in Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, and others.
Well, to your point, you mentioned North Carolina, which has been well documented. You look at, even though I must say that North Carolina has a governor in Roy Cooper who has tried to do everything he can to ensure that voting rights are intact, but he does not have a veto-proof majority in the state house.
Plus, Dems lost the Supreme Court as well.
So I think that we should all, whoever's in North Carolina watching this, Josh Stein running for governor, it's going to be very important. Pay attention to those state house races, because if they can change the balance in the state house, then they will be able to push through more protections for voting rights. But to your point, in Georgia, they passed a law preventing people from giving food and water to folks who are standing in line to vote, which is the height of hypocrisy. Because, what happened to love thy neighbor, right? There is a full-on intent by some to attack hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights, including the right to vote. And part of it, if you track it, is if you look at the successes that we had, in particular in 2020, and in the height of a pandemic when people just said they were going to vote, they knew and they understood how important it was. Thereafter, you saw in state after state attempts by state legislatures to make it more difficult for people to vote. And here's what I would say to your listeners. Don't let anybody take you out the game. There is an intent to make it more difficult. There is an intent to suggest to a lot of folks that their vote won't matter, with the intention that people.
Now, when she's hitting some good points right here, but I got a question to ask anybody who's passionate about voting, especially on the presidential election vote. Do you think your vote matters? Do you think it counts? I just remember voting, and it's historical. When, say, I was in South Carolina, it always was a red state. I don't think it's probably to this day, probably ain't never been Democratic state. I have to look it up, even though it's a mixed state, but it always been red. And I think I was on the blue side back then, passionate about it. The numbers was high, but it's always red. So it's like, does those numbers count towards whoever the candidate is, if he's on the opposite side, or is it just the electoral votes that count? I get, yes, every vote counts. You going out there, you feel like you did something, committed something. But like I said before, I'm not going to get into that. When I was investigating what I seen with my own personal eyes when it comes to these machines, that they still finding that it's errors with them, depending on technology, chips, or whatever the case may be. It's technology, so of course it can be errors in it, but is it done for a reason, or is it just a glitch in the system? So that's just my own personal thing for it. But I still commend anybody who go out there for vote. You're doing something, you stand, just like people out there who doing peaceful protests. Your voice, it does have power, but I think if it's done in unity, I think it actually will make more of a difference.
Will not vote, which is an attempt to silence folks. And what we know is the greatest progress we have achieved is when we jump over those obstacles that have been purposely laid to do what we know is about progress. And this election is going to be no different. They've already started with the misinformation and the lies. We know that there is foreign interference, and I have to say to everybody listening to this, don't let them take your voice.
Foreign interference.
I was part
all
of
the
the
money we
Senate
give away?
Intelligence Committee when we investigated Russia's interference in the 2016 election. Black folks were targeted with misinformation because there was an assumption that you're already targeting a group of people who already have learned based on a lived experience that things aren't necessarily designed to work for them, and manipulate that in a way that suggests to people that their vote won't matter. Because if you do that, they won't vote. That was the intention.
You said they'll let take you out of the game. What do you say to a young Black woman, a young Black man out there who is seriously considering the couch, who says, my vote doesn't matter, who says that I have not seen policies that have changed my life, because that's there. Mm-hmm. That thought process is there. Folks 65 and older vote the highest, but as you keep going down, as you get that number just goes even lower and lower and lower. So what do you say to that young brother or sister who's watching?
Yeah.
Why they should vote, why they should trust you be the 47th president?
So first of all, your vote does matter. It is because folks voted that we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month, that we are on the path to doing what I intend to do, which is saying that your medical debt cannot be on your credit score, putting $16 billion in HBCUs, having the lowest Black unemployment in recent history, the work that we have done that has been about investing in Black businesses, the work that we have done that has been about understanding the importance of having representation at every level, including a Black woman on the United States Supreme Court for the first time. It's because people voted and demanded that. And the reality of how this system works is that we each have many ways that we are powerful. And one of those ways, very significantly, is through our vote. People sit down and they'll watch and say, okay, well, those folks aren't going to vote anyway. I don't need to listen to them. That's how.
And now she just hit a topic point. I don't know if she even realizes we are more powerful than we actually think. We are capable of anything. I mean, if we actually came together, put our head together, do something, we can make a difference. Like I said before, I believe in our vote actually makes a difference when it comes to the local elections, more than the president election. Just like she was saying, certain stuff. Have y'all seen the other video I did with, I think, Fox News, that 6 Democrats vetoed her, challenged her bill that she was trying to pass for whatever reason. Maybe generally you don't get your own party, especially 6 members go against a bill that you're trying to pass and y'all in the same party. Generally, that don't happen. So something must not be all the way right with it. But just imagine on the local level, if you have, say, if you Democrat, whatever the case, if you have your House Democrat, you have your Senate Democrat, now you actually starting to make a difference and make changes in the legislature, which can affect our day-to-day lives. On the president level, it's a different ball game, and it'll have a domino effect and eventually come down to us. But it's going to take a while. It's going to take years. Just like the healthcare system, whatever, the Obamacare they started and this and that. I didn't agree with it myself because it eliminated. I think I generally used to have Blue Cross Blue Shield way back in the day, and it's more cheaper, better benefits, and you had a wider range of doctors to choose from. But with that, it was capped on certain things that you can and cannot do. But that's just on me. Maybe if you had it, let me know what you think. How your healthcare system either improved or stayed the same, or it really didn't matter.
Works. I don't feel that way. I'm going to go everywhere. That's why I'm in rural parts of North Carolina and Georgia and other places where people say, oh, your votes aren't there. But my people are there. People are there.
That's how Obama won the state in 08.
Well, but the point is that I'm saying that not everyone, and the system doesn't necessarily work that way. Mm-hmm. The hard reality of the system is that often the people whose policies get pushed through are the people who actually demand what they want through their vote.
Squeaky wheel gets the most grease.
Often. Often that is the way it works. And when people who are, and I'm not talking about myself, just anybody who's running for office, when they say young Black people are voting, they're gonna say, well, I better know they're gonna vote anyway. I better know what they want. I better listen to them. What do they want? Because I see that they turn out in big numbers.
When I first joined Honeybook, I was roughly.
I do see a lot of young men, like I seen the Carter family, taking an interest in politics, and that is a good thing in my eyes.
Criminal justice. One of the things I keep hearing, Biden-Harris administration didn't get George Floyd Justice Act passed through. But what you have, though, is a very aggressive civil rights division that, and I've covered all the stories, the number of former police officers that they actually sent to prison, corrections officers, jailers. And I haven't heard
some of the highest numbers in recent history, and certainly compare those numbers to Trump administration. Well, and you see a stark difference.
Yeah, he had one Paris and practice investigation and 12 under this DOJ.
Exactly right.
Will you continue having that aggressive of a DOJ civil rights division? Because the work that's being done, I mean, it doesn't get a lot of attention and doesn't get talked about a lot, but it actually happening. The work that Kristen Clark and others are doing.
They're doing extraordinary work, and that is the work that will continue in a Harris administration. Let me tell you something, and again, because Roland, I have to keep stressing not only the importance of every point, but the contrast between me and Donald Trump. Under Donald Trump as president, those cases were not happening with any vigor or commitment. And not only that, he took resources out of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. We put resources into the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice so they could do the job they're supposed to do. And that absolutely would continue under me and my leadership. And it's about looking at what people have done or what they say. Again, you know the record of Donald Trump on these issues. You know the record of where he is on things like stop and frisk, right? And what the Project 2025 talks about. So there is a real contrast here on criminal justice, as there is on almost every issue that we have discussed.
FBI director said white domestic terrorism was America's greatest threat. How do you get folks who are not Black to understand that hate crimes are still real? These things are actually happening in the country, and they have to be dealt with and addressed. Because when you talk about that, folks go, oh, no, these things are not happening. But the reality is they are, and African Americans still are number one when it comes to hate crimes being reported against us.
Well, I know that because I published the hate crimes report every year when I was Attorney General of California. And it is, to your point, about talking about it and making people clear that we have actually seen a spike in hate crimes across the board. And it does not help when you have somebody who is a former president and running to be president again, who is constantly fanning the flames of hate and division in our country. Constantly.
You often asked about Israel, Gaza, Ukraine. I never hear come up conversations about Africa. You traveled there. Fastest growing, 6 of the top 10 fastest growing economies. Very young economy. A lot of folks complain about Chinese investment. But in terms of your presidency dealing with in those countries, what will that look like? Because that's the future of this world when you look at, again, those economies. And I've been to several countries, and those presidents are saying, hey, we want to be.
You came with me. Come on now.
Well, no, I didn't go on that trip, but but if you win, I'll go on the next one.
Well,
now you see, like I say, normally they give it out for themselves. I knew they had a different type of relationship, as you can see for herself. She just said he went with her to the last trip to Africa, but this their first time doing the interview. I think in my eyes, I never, like I said, I don't watch Roland, but all you Roland fans out there, has he ever interviewed Kamala Harris on his show or whatever the case may be throughout the years? But as you clearly see, did you know that they went on a trip to Africa together or hang out in different circles? Because you have to be close to me if I'm taking you to a trip to Africa. And who knows when the trip was? Was it when she was a VP? Was it when she was Attorney General or whatever the case? I know Roland travels the world, whatever else. I seen the intro on this video. He's talking to a lot of celebrities and high power people in different positions, from media to news to celebrities, everything else like that to politics. He's getting around, so he has to be great at what he does, in a genre that he does it in. But do you know the information that she just said? Let's go.
Let me tell you. So this has been, you're preaching to the choir. Listen, I believe so strongly, and that is part of the work I've done as vice president, that we've got to change the narrative around the relationship between the United States and the continent of Africa. For a long time, it has been one that has been about aid as opposed to partnership.
Or investment, right?
Partnership, yep. Which includes U.S. investment. So the work I've done as vice president has been to begin to change that relationship, and including the delegation that I took to the continent, which was focused on, I brought billions of dollars and worked on billions of dollars of U.S. investment in the continent and in countries on the continent of Africa, looking at what we need to do around. Also, I've been partnering with technology companies around digital inclusion, so ensuring that folks have access to fintech, to financial banking and sectors. But to your point, the median age on the continent is...
Man, I hope the U.S. don't have nothing to do with Africa. Any African leaders out there, I don't. When the U.S. get involved with other countries, I never seen the end good. That's just my own perception. But share your thoughts. Let me know what you think. I hope not. All the natural resources they got, and we're there for a reason. I mean, can we help? Who knows? Share your thoughts. Let me know what you think. I just haven't seen it. I don't know the agenda or reasoning why. And we can't take care of home. If you took billions of dollars over there for investments, tech startups, what's up with our homeless people, the vets, what we need here in America, FEMA, you name it, where's all that money we just can throw away and to invest in other countries and stuff like this technology? I just try to make y'all think mindfully about what they're saying, taking nobody's words out of context. Like I said, we just listen to the information just like you. So if you heard somebody say that, but you actually know that it's hard for you to even buy groceries, the price of groceries done doubled and tripled, and they're taking that money that you're actually spending, because there's billions of dollars that they're going to invest in other countries for tech startups, meaning that it's just investments. You're never going to see that for years to come. Is that right? I mean, should something be done with it? But they don't hide it. They boldly say it, and it's like it's a good thing. That, hey, yeah, we're investing billions of dollars in all these other countries, but we're not investing in our own country or with our own citizens. That's the sad thing about it.
18. By 2050, 1 in 4 people on Earth will be on the continent of Africa. That is so, so, so exciting. If we see it in terms of global policy, for the opportunity it presents to invest in partnership and to do the work that is about understanding the mutual benefit. So that is very much on my agenda as a priority. It has been as vice president, and it will continue to be when I am elected president.
When you mention those countries, when we talk about immigration, it has been African Americans. It's been in some quarters extremely contentious. And I've said, wait a minute, there are people who are coming from African agents, who are coming from Haiti, who are coming from Bermuda, who are coming from different countries. And you have these battles happening in Chicago. What do you say to African Americans specifically about immigration, and how are you going to deal with that? Because there was reason folks were being sent to various cities to create the tension. But it's talked about. It's there. It is a real concern. So what do you say to African Americans specifically who say, shut it all down, folks can't come in, close the border, who sound in many ways like MAGA folks?
So first of all, I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
Sorry about that.
I have had a career, including now, of prioritizing that we must have a secure border. And in fact, on the issue of immigration, let's be clear, some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, together with others, had a bill to secure the border even more. And Donald Trump got wind of it. And because he thought it would hurt his political chances in this election, told them not to put it up for a vote. He killed the bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why the border.
Like I said before, we heard this before in this other Fox News interview and stuff like that. And the facts just didn't line up, but the border agents are siding with Trump right now. The problem is still the problem. Whatever they're going to do, they're going to do. But I'm trying to get through this last little bit of this video. I didn't want to go that long, but I wanted to try to give Roland a fair shake and do a whole review of his whole video. And this is the VP Harris. I know she's important to all y'all, so bear with us. Like I said before, I know it wasn't going to be too educating because I don't hear too much. I hear statements, but I don't actually hear the policies, the citing the policies and stuff like that. But if you know the policies, we're going to see if we can find out what they are. But I mean, like I said, he's conducting it, but it does seem like he knows her, and we already just found out that he does.
Agent union supported it. That bill would have stemmed the flow of fentanyl, which is affecting people of every race and background and geographic location in our country. That bill would have given more resources to prosecute transnational criminal organizations. Donald Trump told him, cancel that bill because he wants to run on a problem instead of fix a problem. I'm about fixing problems. And that includes, when I am elected president, bringing back up that border security bill, and I will sign it into law. We also must have an immigration system that is humane and orderly. We have to increase the number of asylum judges. We need to make sure that people who are fleeing harm, that we give them a chance to explain their situation in a meaningful way, because America also is a place that we have said we will receive people who are fleeing persecution. They got to make their case. And then they got to be on a path where they earn the right to be here and become citizens, which means we need to have a comprehensive immigration policy that includes requiring people to earn and work hard to earn their citizenship.
Last question, since your folks are dancing back here, so I see them all in my periphery, so y'all can relax, Cedric.
He know the name.
Huh? Well, he's a Saints fan too. We won't talk about that. Why do you?
Now look at this. He know the name of her people. Cedric by first name. I mean, you got to see this. All of them are connected, I think, a little bit. You know what I mean? I know I'm a conspiracy theorist, but like I said before, if you actually look at that word and research it, you already figure out what it means. Like I say, me being in the circles I have been in for over 25 plus years, man, nothing surprises me. I mean, it is what it is. We still live our life, try to do the best we can, try to do whatever we can to just make it each and every day, man. I want the best for everybody. I don't wish no harm on nobody. And especially when it comes to politics, man, don't get too involved in politics that you stop being friends with somebody else because they have a different opinion on you, or they see things in a different light. See if you can find common ground. I debate with anybody. I talk and explain my perception, but I'm not going to judge you for your perception if you're big in politics. I just don't believe too much in politics. I believe in the Bible, but I don't still judge and condemn nobody for their own personal beliefs. Let's go ahead and finish this off, man. It's been a long one, so I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Let's finish it off strong. Let's go.
Why do you want to be president? There's somebody who's saying Why should I trust her, the powerful commander-in-chief?
I love our country, Roland. I believe in the American people. And I know we are a people who have the character, that have ambition, that have aspirations, dreams. And I intend to be a president who meets people with opportunities for them to not just get by, but get ahead. I believe in our country and the importance of its strength in terms of what that means to the world. As Vice President of the United States, I have met over 150 world leaders, presidents, prime ministers, chancellors, and kings. I know the importance of America retaining respect as a power around the globe. And that's why I am putting in the hard work of working to earn every person's vote so we can actually turn the page on what has been otherwise years of an attempt to divide us as a nation, to have Americans point their fingers at each other, years of belittling people and promoting fear. People are exhausted with that. They're ready to turn the page. They're ready for a new generation of leadership that's about charting a new way forward. And that's what I intend to do, with a sense of optimism and being clear-eyed about the challenges that folks face and the opportunities that we have to address those challenges in a way that strengthens our nation.
I would certainly appreciate it. And let me wish you a happy early birthday.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say the age, because I'm not trying to have all these sisters get an attitude and tell me I can't believe you did that. But, you know.
Yeah, I would, for your well-being, I would advise you not to do that.
But it'll be published anyway. So we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Folks, Black on that.
Like I said before, man, that was my probably first real official video review of Roland Martin. I have seen him before there in Atlanta. Like I said, when I was at Georgia Bureau Investigations, I think we had Ahmaud Arbery case, all this other stuff from the riots, pandemic, everything else was going on. So I'm not new to this. You know, I'm just newer on YouTube because I just didn't talk about this stuff like this. But let me get this off of there. But you know, I just want to go ahead and y'all just be mindful, man. Don't get wrapped up in these politics. Roland, the interview right there was, I guess, pretty decent. I'll just say he did. His interview style is a little different because he does know her. He knows her name. He knows her people, first name, stuff like that. I seen that. I felt that. So he didn't hit her with none of the hard questions, but he did ask some really good questions. So I give him all the props for that. His interview style is all right. I mean, he's got to be good at what he does. So anybody who can say you set with a VP, either you got amazing connections, or you're great at your job, or you're in that position that you was able to present yourself that you're worthy of being able to interview these candidates. So you got to have a good platform, a good interview style, a good person for these people to come on your show. So I give it okay. Did he go after her? No. Did he challenge her or give her some pushback on any question? No, he didn't. But did he ask amazing questions? Yes, he did. Did he act respectable? Of course. Did he? I don't think he really bashed Trump too much. He gave her some answers to some of the stuff just to help her out a little bit, and she was able to go forward with that. I mean, he did his research. I can say it right there. He did his research on whatever talking points he had. So I know generally in interviews you have your pre-list questions, and he was well educated on what he wanted to ask, the information that he needed to present to her. And this is something that he does, I guess, on a day-to-day basis. So he should be an expert in his field at that. But overall, it was a good interview. He's just not my style, but this interview right here was a professional. I'll watch it, stuff like that. I mean, I think he is a funny guy when I think I did Gary Owen video reaction, and it seemed to be okay. You know, it was comedian. All us, you know, we like to laugh. Period. If you like comments, you like going to comedy shows. But did President, I mean, or Vice President Harris, did she answer any of your policy questions? Anything that you want to know? Did you find out anything you didn't know that she's presented with her policies, stuff of that nature? Comment below. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. With that, any questions or comments, make sure y'all comment below, man. Read the link in the description. We have a full link for this video so y'all can check it out. But we done did the whole thing. So it's your boy. With that, we out.